Good morning, Vivian Broughton from London, UK.
Yeah.
We are very happy to have you here in this online meeting, this interview that we organized because we are organizing a course together where you are the teacher. Yeah.
And the course is called Who Am I Without You? And it's about the effects of early trauma on love, sex, and relationships. And you will be our teacher.
Yeah. So, my name is Rens Meijkamp and this is
Mariska van Veen.
Yeah. So, actually, we want to start with the question: Who are you actually?
Okay. Yes, I can say a little bit about that. So, I think it's important people know if they're going to put themselves in the hands of someone.
Yeah.
I'm a psychotherapist. I trained in the late 1980s, and I at an institute in London, very reputable institute, and I've been working as a therapist since then. Mid-90s, I came across the work of the family constellations work of Bert Hellinger, which some people may know, and I got very interested in what he was doing. And then I was really involved in that up until about 2010. But along the way, at a conference in Germany, I met a man called Professor Franz Rupert, who was also doing family constellations, but he was developing a theory at the time. I didn't know about this, but I really liked how he talked about his work, and I liked how he worked. I saw him work with a client in a group, and I really liked how he was working. So I invited him to come to the UK to do a workshop. And that developed into, he came to the UK twice a year for about 12 years. He stopped about a year ago. And over that time, I became increasingly interested in the theory that he was developing, which was based originally on thinking about what trauma is, psychological trauma, and attachment theory. And come about 2010, I decided that really I was more interested in his work than family constellations, and I moved entirely to working with his theories and with the method that he was developing. Now, the method comes out of the family constellations, but the background theory and how we now do the method is entirely different. Today, I would say I'm probably one of the foremost practitioners of his work, and I teach in various other countries. I go to Singapore, and I am due to go to Istanbul this coming weekend to teach students there. And I do a lot of work in the Netherlands. I run a supervision group in Utrecht and various workshops and so on. So I guess that's who I am. I now regard myself as an IOPT practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. You are mentioning IOPT,
Yes.
Identity-Oriented Psychotrauma Therapy.
Yes.
Which is the framework for the course you are giving, developed by Franz Rupert. Can you tell us a little bit more about this framework that we are going to use?
Yeah. Over the years, as Franz was developing his theory, became more and more sophisticated. Eventually, he called it identity-oriented psychotrauma therapy, and the important components are there. So psychotrauma involves an understanding of what trauma is, how it works in us, what the impact is on us, and what the impact is on our sense of who I am, my identity. So one of the primary principles we have is that the way we survive trauma is to split in our psyche. We split off the experience that is unbearable. This immediately compromises who I am, because in effect it means that what is split off is not included in who I am, and I become not entirely a whole identity. So this is why we have now realized that the issue of who I am is a fundamental issue connected with trauma. And a lot of the issues that we find we are working with are traumatic events that happen very early in life, even pre-birth, even in the womb, that it's possible for the child in the womb to be traumatized by primarily the inability to create or to establish a good relationship with the mother, even in the womb. So this is very briefly, the background theory that we're working with. And it has implications, obviously, for many things as we grow up. And of course, these issues that we decided we would look at in the course that you have chosen to run, of love and sexuality and being in relationship, these are primary issues in our lives, and they are fundamentally affected by early trauma, by this sense of who am I when I come into relationship with you, for example.
Thank you. Like you told, this course will be focusing on love, sex, and relationships. And how does trauma relate to these aspects of life?
Well, as I was just saying, of course, it affects who I am, and therefore it affects my ability to be in relationship with anyone else. So that I'm only partially there in most situations. So let's take them one at a time. Love, we have several traumas that we talk about of very early life. The first is a trauma of identity. The second is a trauma of love. And the trauma of love is in our view, is where the child has difficulty in having a clear, loving relationship with the mother. Now, often this is because the mother herself may be traumatized, and therefore her psyche is to some extent confused. She's not fully available to the child, and the child their impulse to love, which all children have, kind of gets cut off. This then affects their ability to love or even know what love is as they grow up. And in the same way, being in relationship with another person is an intimate phenomenon. And if we are compromised within ourselves, then our ability to be clearly in relationship with someone else is also compromised. And one of the ways in which we manage this, because what happens is intimacy is emotional, right? You can't have an intimate relationship without it also having an emotional reaction in the body. And the problem is that if that happens, what also comes up are the uncomfortable feelings that we have split off from trauma. And so therefore what we may have a tendency to do when we come into close, intimate relationship is to distract ourselves or to just go away, just block out. So therefore the process of coming into intimate relationship is broken. It can't happen. One of the common result of this that many people find in their lives is they can't sustain a relationship for any length of time. So you get people who go into repeatedly failing relationships because their ability to really be in a relationship, they just don't have it. It's too frightening. It's too disturbing emotionally within them, because it, in a way, takes them right back to this first failed relationship, if you like, that I couldn't really get my mother to love me. I mean, it's incredibly painful. And for many of us, one of our common ways of dealing with it is to deny it. So a common thing that we may say, for example, is my mother loved me in her way. But actually, the truth is love is an absolute. It's either there or it's not. And so this is one of the fundamental things that we're looking at. And of course, this then affects our ability to be in a loving sexual relationship. So we can see in our society today that both love and sexuality have been highly commoditized in our culture. We use sex and love to sell things, for example. In some ways, we have moved so far away from the primary function of sexuality, which there's two functions for sexuality. One is a very basic species one, which is the proliferation of the species. All species are involved in that, and we're no different from that. We have an urge that comes from the basic reptilian brain in our brain system to procreate. And that's one function. But the other function of sexuality is also to come into loving contact. It's a way of being in loving contact. Now, so much of many of our experiences of sexuality can't do that. A, because the loving contact gets cut, and then what happens is sexuality becomes just something we do, but cannot have the loving contact while we're doing it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, very clear. Yeah.
So the three things are intimately connected. Love, sex, and relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely intimately connected. And for many of us, you know, these cause the primary difficulties in our life.
Mm-hmm.
How do I relate to you? How do I find a loving connection with someone? And how do I have a sexual relationship where I feel seen and I really see the other person? These are, I think, quite common issues that many of us recognize.
Yeah.
Sure, very much.
For me, the difficulties all go back to early trauma. There's no question about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rather a long answer to your question. But
It's important.
Very clear. It's an important answer.
Yeah. So this course consists of 12 days and divided in 4 modules. And people are asking, well, that is very interesting on paper, but what are we going to do in this course, these 12 days?
Yeah. Well, basically we're going to do personal work. I mean, this is the most important thing. Whether one wants to become a practitioner or whether one is really just looking to be clearer in oneself, the only way is to do personal work, personal exploration. So we use this method, the intention method, which is a way of exploring the state of our psyche, if you like. This is what we most commonly would do. So in the course, I will work with the students of the course to explore our own issues. Then, of course, what we will do is talk about what happened, see what we can learn from each exploration, discuss it in relation to the theory. Does it relate to the theory? Because theory is only theory.
Sure.
It's not reality.
No.
It's not supposed to understand reality, but if reality shows us something that doesn't fit the theory, we have to ask again. So, in a way, it's the personal work, the explorations that we do that give us the most information. So I think about, I run a training already in London, and I think about the things that we do. We do personal exploration, we do discussion, I do presentations of theory, yes, I do that, but not too much. It gets a little boring to talking about stuff. The best way is experience. The best way is that we experience what is it like to set an intention, to explore my own psyche, to see in the process that we do, how does my psyche react to these issues? Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I think.
No.
I'm also pretty free, so, you know, I think we question and answer. Maybe I ask questions of the group as well and say, what do you think is the answer to this question? And we have this ongoing exchange as well.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. Very.
It gives the image.
It gives a clear image on what we are going to do.
Personal work for anyone who's thinking of being a practitioner is absolutely key. Because we cannot understand these things if we don't understand them in ourselves. And we make a big focus too on perpetrator-victim dynamics. which France has done a lot of research into how these dynamics work.
Mhm.
And of course, the primary thing is, if one's going to be a practitioner, is to understand and be familiar with the potential to be a perpetrator in myself.
Mhm.
These are important issues for us if we want to be a practitioner
Yeah.
of work like this. Understand my own trauma, how it affects me, how it perhaps continues to affect me, or how much I have made myself so it doesn't affect me so much, and I can be present, fully present for my clients.
Yeah.
These are important issues for practitioners.
So what you are saying is that knowing your own psyche is a precondition for being a good practitioner on these issues.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Mhm.
You cannot, if you don't know these things in yourself, be of any service to anyone else.
Mhm.
It's just not, doesn't make sense.
Sure. Nice to have that so clear. Huh? Yeah.
And now we are organizing this course, and people are asking me, why should I go to this course? You told a lot, but can you give in a few lines, why is it so important, this course right now in this time?
Well, okay, so you're asking a couple of questions here. You're asking a question about why it might be important to an individual, but you're also asking about this time
Mm-hmm.
globally in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I answer the second question first, because I'm in the process of editing Fran's latest book. And this latest book, the title of the book is Who Am I in a Traumatized Society? And this is a really important thing, is that once we start to understand really what trauma is and what identity is, we start to see in our culture and our society that we are dealing with trauma every day, in every way. That we are, that there are many of the people who make decisions in our world are in fact traumatized people. And sometimes they are making decisions from their survival selves. These are not clear decisions that they make. We in the UK are dealing with issues about Brexit, about whether we stay in the EU or not. A lot of this is based really in people's inability to perceive reality clearly, and that's to do with trauma. So that's one reason I feel very passionate about this work, because I think it's groundbreaking work. I really do. And I think it gives us some insight into how we might go forward globally as people, as a species, if you like. So then I come back to the individual, because we can't do that. We can't make a real impact on our society if we are not clear in ourselves. And trauma makes a situation where we're not clear in ourselves. We don't know really who we are. But the first place to make any difference anywhere is in me, is in ourselves, is to see what I can do to get clearer in myself. Now, from my perspective, we may say this is an education course, it's a teaching course, whatever we want to call it. But in my view, it's an opportunity for anyone interested in themselves to come and be part of a closed group where we can do personal explorations to understand better who we are. For me, if people want to become practitioners, that's their business. I'm not so interested. I'm really interested in working with people on clear in themselves. That may then lead them to say, actually, I want to be a practitioner of this work. And it is absolutely the case we need more practitioners. There's very few of us still. Yes, we do need more practitioners. But it's not, in a way, my motivation. It was for a while. I got very kind of evangelistic. I'm not so interested in that now. I'm more interested in working with people to get clear in themselves. Then people can make a clear choice. Do I become a practitioner? So in a way, this is all there. It's all, in that sense, I think this course is for anyone who's interested in getting clear in themselves who they really are. It's a wide prospect. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's very
really
nice.
okay.
Yeah,
And I think it's a great opportunity to
Yeah.
follow this course with you. And there are some people, they have doubts. What could I do? And I think, will it fit for me? What could I do?
Yes. Yes. I understand that. And, you know, perhaps this little video that we make helps people. Because I do think also, I mean, I think one of the good things about making this video is people don't know me.
Yeah.
You know, it makes really good sense to be cautious about where you're going to put your money and where you're going to put your time, whether you think it's going to be worthwhile for you. I can't persuade people about that, but I do think that actually having a sense of me, maybe by listening to me talk, that is potentially helpful.
Yeah. That's the reason why we make this video.
I think there's two things I would say, add, if it's okay with you.
Great.
Somebody asked Franz just recently, what's the point of this work? I mean, it's a good question. What's the point of this work? And he thought about it, and then he said, the point is to live a good life. And that's a really interesting thing, because for most of us, if we have problems in our lives, in my view, it's back in us. It's not out there. The problems are not out there in a way. They're inside us. And the problems mean that we are not living a good life. It's a very simple thing. How do I live a good life? I have this life. It's not that long. It's not that long that I'm on this earth. Do I not have a duty to myself to see how can I make this short time that I'm on this earth the best life that I can have?
Thank you very much.
Sense.
Yeah.
And having a good life means knowing who I am, really. And if I know who I am and I get clear in my psyche, that's good for my children, that's good for my friends, that's good for my relationship with my partner. And we meet clearly, rather than do this kind of, you know, we're not really meeting.
Yeah.
We keep fighting our early wars in our relationship.
Yeah.
It's not helpful for us. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Vivian, for having this conversation, this interview with you. And we are looking forward to participate in your course. And
I was really inspired by your the words you found, and also touched, because I really feel it's important, and I also feel it's a great opportunity to be together with the group and learning about these themes together with you. And I hope it also inspires other people.